Okay, so when I tell you that this is about the most wobbly setup ever, I mean that. Like, it's extremely unstable, but we're gonna go with it. Hi everyone, my name's Sophia. I am 16, meaning I am a driver. I do not have my license yet. However, today I took my road test. I passed. I should be going on November 2nd. We're trying to get an earlier date at the Secretary of State, but we all know how that works. But I should be driving within the next 2 weeks, like, you know, by myself. I made this video because before my test, I personally tried to find a lot of videos on YouTube regarding Michigan driver's tests, and I found maybe like 2, and one of them was about parking, and the other one was a video that didn't have a lot of content and that didn't answer a lot of my questions. So what I'm going to be doing today is trying to answer everyone else's questions. Hopefully I do an okay job about the Michigan road test, driver's test, because like I said, I passed. I actually took it twice. I passed the second time. So basically about my first experience failing the first time, and then my second experience with passing, and basically what I did in between those two, and how hopefully my failures will result in your passing the first time. So that's what, like I said, that's what basically this video is going to be about. So to begin this video, I think I just need to go over basically what you have to have, not only to take the road test, but also physically what you have to bring to whatever road test place you're going to. So basically, I may not list off all of these correctly, but in order to take your driving test, you will need to have your Segment 2 certification of completion, and you can take the road test like literally the day after you take Segment 2. You have to have your permit for at least 180 days and 50 hours of driving plus 10 hours of nighttime driving in order to take the road test. 2 of the things that you'll need to bring that basically if you are the one taking the test you will have to have would be your permit, which is this. Mine's kind of a mess, but I've had it for over a year. And your Segment 2 driver's education slip, which basically confirms that you had finished Segment 2 and you had passed the Segment 2 test. And obviously your permit just confirms that you had passed Segment 1. The 50 hours you should just have completed and shown to your Segment 2 instructor. What your parents will have to bring is proof of insurance of the vehicle as well as registration of the vehicle. So that is something that usually you just keep in your glove box, which from where this camera is like right here. So that is something that you will have to bring. I would suggest you definitely ask your parents about that. That's what I had to do. And depending on where you're taking the test, they are most likely going to have a fee. So you will have to bring money, whether that be cash checks. Some places even take card in order to take your driving test. For me, it was $50 the first time and $40 for a retake. And it was cash only. So what you will need for your road test, once again, would be your level 1 license, aka your permit, which you will have had to have for 180 days prior to your test. You will need to have your Segment 2 certification of completion. You will need to have your registration for the vehicle that you are driving, and you will need to have proof of insurance for the vehicle that you are driving. Plus, depending on the place, you will need some sort of money, so cash, check, credit card, as I said before. So those are the 5 things that you absolutely need for your road test. And because this is COVID as well, you need a mask. Those are basically the absolute basics of what you need. Next, another important aspect of the road test is your parent will need to be in the car with you. They will need to be in the back seat and silent. I do not know if there is a rule against, I know in some states and some places there is a rule against parents talking, so if they talk you automatically fail the test. I'm not sure about that in Michigan. I don't think my dad talked at all. So basically I cannot answer that question. I would do more research on that if I were you, or your instructor may tell you. One of the biggest things is how will the road test actually function? And this goes for the place that I went and I took my road test. They're all pretty similar though, so I would say across the board you should probably be safe with this information. When you get there, you should go inside. They'll take all your information, write it down, and put it on this testing sheet that they have, which is certified by the state of Michigan, and they have to test you on that sheet. So basically the first thing that happened was she walked out and asked me to turn on my turn signals. I did so in the front. She walked to the back, did the same thing, and then I beeped my horn. She also asked me to apply to the brakes so that she could make sure that all the lights are working. So once she confirmed that all the lights were working, she got in the passenger seat and we began the test. So typically, I'm not sure if this is everywhere, at least at my place, we actually had to drive to a separate parking lot because their parking lot was not big enough for the cones for the parking segment of the test. So we ended up driving about 3 minutes to a parking lot just down the road, and that section of the test was not graded. The actual driving there was not the first part of the exam, which is of course the parking. So this is actually where I failed on my first exam, so I'm going to tell you right now, it is imperative that you know how to park. If you do not know how to park, you will fail. That is exactly what happened with me. To give you a little bit of like what happened with me is this place that I had taken the test was absolutely great. Everyone there was very nice, very kind, and very calm during the test. That being said, I did not take driver's ed there. So I never practiced parking with cones. The place that I went to, they allowed students who were taking the test there to go before the test and practice. That's what I did. I went all this past week and practiced parking in the cone area. And it also depends on what size car you have as well. I will say that I have a SUV. I have a 2020 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. So it's a smaller SUV, but it still counts as an SUV. So they kept all the parking spots pretty standard. If you have a truck like an F-150, like Chevy Suburban, you know, one of the big cars, a Cadillac Escalade, or even if you have, you know, like a small Fiat, or like a smart car, you know, a small Ford Fiesta, they will change the spots to either be bigger or smaller for your car. So mine, they didn't have to adjust anything because it is just a pretty regular sized SUV. The first thing that you have to do on your parking test is pull up to a line, and you have to be basically within a 2 feet margin behind the yellow line. So I got that first try. Like I said, I had been practicing all week, so I ended up getting that first try. I ended up losing a point the first time because I wasn't pulled up enough, but like I said, the second time, got it first try. Then what they will ask you to do is park and back into a space. So backing into a space is not too difficult. I would say if you have a car with a backup camera, or if you have a family car with a backup camera, use that car. Backup cameras are incredible. They will help you so much. I managed to figure out a way where on my backup camera, I would fit the cones in between two lines and then start, you know, cranking the wheel. So really get familiarized with your car and make sure you know how to back into a space. I got that first try, second time as well. The first time, however, I lost a point on that one. The last part, which is possibly the hardest, is parallel parking. What you're going to want to do is pull out, and my instructor let me actually pull around and then readjust myself so I was best fit in front of the space. I would highly suggest you do that. It's hard to pull out of a back-in spot and then immediately adjust yourself to a parallel parking spot when you can just swing around. I would highly suggest, like I said, you swing around, really take your time on this, and practice parallel parking. You're going to want to get through the parallel parking. The first try is where I messed up. I failed completely at parallel parking. I was trying to readjust in the space. It just was not working out. The second time I managed to pass. I'm going to be quite honest with you. The road test was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. The parking is really where you kind of have to pay a lot of attention. I mean, you should obviously pay attention on your road test, but don't be too concerned about that. Like I said, if you've done all of your hours of driving, you should be fine. The only tips that I would have as someone who just took the road test today is practice. There is no way you are going to pass if you don't practice just over and over and over. You need to practice parking. You need to practice driving. You just need to do everything. I basically have driven everywhere for my family for the past few months. Really, since I got my permit like a year ago, I've been doing quite a bit of the driving. So basically, the more driving you can do, the better. You really do need to review your rules of the road. If you go through a rolling stop, you're not gonna pass. If you illegally turn on red, you're not going to pass. You really have to pay attention. You have to keep your eyes on the road. You have to focus on the road. You cannot focus on anything else. And I say that from a teenager perspective. You really do need to pay attention, and you really do need to practice. Road test you can really ace just by following the rules of the road. That's about it. Don't go over the speed limit. Don't go through rolling stops. Don't do any of that. Just follow the rules of the road. My opinion of the parking was more difficult. You really need to just practice that over and over. Have your parents take you out to a parking lot, buy cones, borrow friends' cones, see if the place that you're taking the test has cones. Practice with cones. I cannot emphasize that enough. Practice with cones. I would say the test was not easy, but it was not difficult either. You just need to practice. It's one of those things where you have to practice. So, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. I really do hope this helps some people out, because I know personally it was kind of difficult for me to find specifics on Michigan driving. So like I said, really hope that this helps some of you guys out. Make sure to subscribe. This is kind of a rare video for me. This is like more of an instructional video. I don't really do those. I mainly do like vlog type stuff, which I should be uploading more content on now that I have a car and hopefully a license in the next 2 weeks. Make sure to subscribe, like if this helped you, share to anyone who may need this. Comment what you thought, comment any questions that I may or may not be able to answer. I really appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate you guys spending the time for me to explain to you how to ace your Michigan road test.